Put on headset. Om.
Nanjana चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमा ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नीति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशे तारिणे। Okay, welcome everyone to the morning Srimad Bhagavatam reading. So I will share my screen, and if I can find it, yes. We'll be reading from the fourth canto, chapter 8, verse 9 and 10. 4, 8. So I will read the verses. One has does not have a purport, and the second one has. I will read both and then we will discuss. Okay, so I'll start. I'll read the verses followed by synonyms and translation. Ekada suruche putram ankam aropya lal layan uttamam narurukshantam dhruvam rajabhya nandata. Synonyms or word-to-word meanings. Ekada, once upon a time, Suruche, of Queen Suruchi, Putram, the son, Ankam, on the lap, Aropya, placing, Layan, while patting, Uttamam, Uttama, Na, did not, Arurukshantam, trying to get on, Dhruvam, Dhruva, Raja, the king, Abhyanandata, welcome. Translation. Once upon a time, King Uttanapada was patting the son of Suruchi, Uttama, placing him on his lap. Dhruva Maharaj was also trying to get on king's lap, but the king did not very much welcome him. So King Uttama, once upon a time, King Uttama was patting the son of Suruchi, Uttama, placing him on his lap. Okay, so Suruchi's son Uttama was on his lap, and Dhruva Maharaj was also trying to get on king's lap, but king did not welcome him very much. Next verse. तथा चिकीर्षमाणं तं सपत्यास्तनयं ध्रुवं सुरुचि शृण्वतो राजनः शेर्ष्यम् आहति गर्विता. Synonyms or word-to-word meanings. Tatha, thus, Chikir Shamanam, the child Dhruva who was trying to get up, Tam, unto him, Sapatnyaha, of her co-wife Suniti, Tanayam, son, Dhruvam, Dhruva, Suruchi, Queen Suruchi, Shrinvata, while hearing, Rajnaha, of the king, Sa Irshyam, with envy, Aha, said, Ati Garvita, being too proud. Translation. While the child Dhruva Maharaj was trying to get on the lap of his mother, while the child Dhruva Maharaj was trying to get on the lap of his father, Suruchi, his stepmother, became very envious of the child, and with great pride she began to speak so as to be heard by the king himself. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada. The king, of course, was equally affectionate toward both his sons, Uttama and Dhruva. So he had a natural inclination to take Dhruva as well as Uttama on his lap. But because of his favoritism towards his queen Suruchi, he could not welcome Dhruva Maharaj despite his feelings. King Uttanapada's feeling was understood by Suruchi, and therefore, with great pride, she began to speak about the king's affection for her. This is the nature of woman. If a woman understands that her husband regards her as a favorite and is specially affectionate to her, she takes undue advantage. These symptoms are visible even in such an elevated society as the family of Swayambhuva Manu. Therefore, it is concluded that the feminine nature of woman is present everywhere. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Okay, so we will briefly discuss for maybe about 15 minutes. The first verse, 4.8.9, here we see that Uttama was already sitting on King Uttanapada's lap, his his one son, and his second son Dhruva Maharaj was trying to get on the king's another lap. It's natural for a child to be to expect affection from the father. Very much welcome him. Why he did not welcome him, it was mentioned also, because while the child Dhruva Maharaj was trying to get on the lap of his father, Suruchi, his stepmother, became very envious of the child, and with great pride she began to speak so as to be heard by the king himself. So uh, King Uttanapada obviously knew the mind and the feelings of his wife Suruchi. And because of that, he did not welcome Dhruva Maharaj to get on his lap. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking, there are a few things that comes out in these two verses. Number one is Uttanapada had two wives. Two, Srila Prabhupada brings out the difference between, not difference, but the nature of a woman, especially when there are two wives and one wife is preferred. How does she feel, and the envious nature, so the enviousness and the nature of a woman in general. I think those are the points that we can discuss. Pride is also mentioned here, but we will probably discuss on the two. So first of all, we see that King Uttanapada had two wives, and in the previous yugas, the Kshatriya, and especially the kings used to have multiple wives, and it was a normal thing. But we have seen the problems with that also. In the current yuga, of course, even one is difficult to manage or manage the relationship between them. What to talk about two? But in those days, two were possible, and they sometimes had more than one wife. But we see that from Ramayana, Lord Rama set the standard of an ideal society, even though his own father had multiple wives, but he had accepted only one wife. And we have seen the many, even from the scriptures, where, for example, even Lord Rama's case, his father had multiple wives, and we see that one wife being more favorable, or uh, because of different dynamics, it created so much havoc in his own life, in Dashrath Maharaj's life. Similarly, we see many other cases where there are multiple wives. We see that there are problems in the life. So Lord Ramchandra set the standard, and having one wife. That's the first point. So even in our practical lives, we see even today that even when someone does not, I mean, they may not have more than one wife, it's very hard in today's age. But even if somebody has other relationships, then also it brings a lot of problems in their life. Second, about the nature of the woman, and there are a few verses. So we will not go into specifics of the difference, but we have to understand the difference between the male and female. So the male and female, categorically, they are different. As categories, they are different. Even though we try for a society with equality, but as categories, they are same. However, at the base level, they are same. So, for example, in a sequence, in the natural numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to infinity, we can categorize the numbers as odd numbers and even numbers, and they do not intersect each other. They'll always be separate. So categorically, the odd numbers are different, the even numbers are different. But at the base level, they are all numbers. So similarly, categorically, male is a separate category, and female is a separate category, man and woman. But at the base level, we are all spirit souls. So at being spirit souls, we are on the same platform, but at the category level, we are different. So that has to be clearly understood. So at the category level, in the case of the numbers, the functions of even numbers and odd numbers are different. When the numbers are multiplied with odd number or even number, they have different results. The applications are different. So similarly, in the case of humans, the applications and functions are different between male and female. So uh, the when operating within the material nature, within the platform of material nature, the functions and uh, the applications are different. So having said that, I will bring up Kapil Muni talks about 331. So about talking, because we are talking about the woman here. So Kapil Muni says that just try to understand the mighty strength of my Maya in the shape of woman, who by the mere movement of her eyebrows can keep even the greatest conquerors of the world under her grip. So we can see that from externally, a woman may seem like gentle and delicate, but internally they are very powerful. Women, as a category, as we discussed, they are very powerful. And here he says that even just try to understand this strength or the power of Maya in the shape of woman, who by mere movement of her eyebrows can keep even greatest conquerors. And we can see that here this Suruchi, Queen Suruchi, is controlling her husband. Next, we'll see in the 10th canto, 51. And 51. Having conquered the entire circle of directions and being thus free of conflict, a man sits on a splendid throne, receiving praise from leaders who were once his equals. But when he enters the women's chambers, where sex pleasure is found, he is led about like a pet animal, O Lord. So this is talking about the man, the category of man, that he may be very strong, he may command a lot of power, he may be a king, but when the king or the man enters the private chambers of his wife or whatever the female, they are uh, they are treated like a pet animal. Then there is another, maybe just a couple more. We will not go into too much details. Canto 6, chapter 18, verse 41. A woman's face is as attractive and beautiful as a blossoming lotus flower during autumn. Her words are very sweet and they give pleasure to the ear. But if we study a woman's heart, we can understand it to be extremely sharp, like the blade of a razor. In these circumstances, who could understand the dealings of a woman? This is from Kashyapa Muni and Diti and Aditi's pastimes in sixth canto. So, having just I thought of bringing up these verses, but in general, uh, the the point here is that the category of man and woman or male and female are different, and there we saw some, mostly because we are focusing on the woman, we looked at the characteristics or some of the nature of a woman's, and especially when there is more than one wife situation is there. And basically this is all driven by the modes, the three modes of nature. And especially within the three modes, passion and ignorance are very prominent when we see these type of situations or instances. And we can see the characteristics also actually in Bhagavatam also. Prahlad Maharaj is, there is a better verse, I think around 40. Yeah, third 43 and 44. In the conditioned stage, one's conceptions of life are sometimes polluted by passion and ignorance, which are exhibited by attachment, hostility, greed, lamentation, illusion, fear, madness, false prestige, insults, fault finding, deception, envy, intolerance, passion, bewilderment, hunger, and sleep. All of these are enemies. Sometimes one's conceptions are also polluted by goodness. So, in general, this in a single verse, all the characteristics of the mode of passion and ignorance have been described, and which is also Krishna talks about this in the Bhagavad Gita also, chapter 14. But in 14, we see that he talks about the goodness, passion, and ignorance, and ultimately at the end, without going into details, we don't have much time. But in the last one verse before the last verse, he first explains all the different modes and how they act, what their characteristics are, and finally, the solution to get out of the modes, because basically the being under the modes is bondage, and how can we free ourselves from bondage? Uh, the famous verse here, Mam cha yo avyabhicharina bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatyaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So, here is the solution or the formula. The categories are there, the male, female, man, woman. But how do we come to our the basic, the foundational platform, which is the spirit soul, by engaging in devotional service, and that transcends using that's the formula. In fact, Krishna uses the very word bhakti yoga here, bhakti yogena sevate. So uh, y- engaging in the bhakti yoga, one can transcend the modes of material nature, come out of those uh, categories of male, female, and come to the level of Brahman, or come to the level of the spirit soul. And that is the message from today's two verses that we discussed. So I will stop here and see if we have any discussions. I have a hard stop at 8.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
I was just thinking when you were talking about this, when you were reading those things, how astonishing, as Krishna says in the second chapter, the soul acts indifferently when it is there in different bodies, right? So it's very,
Mhm.
very astonishing. In this case, we are talking about man and woman, but if we extend that to a little bit further, right? I mean, if it is a particular animal, for example, a tiger, it always want to, harm and eat another living entity for, survival,
Yeah.
of course. But yeah, I was just thinking how the same living entity, when it's in different bodies and acts in a very completely different ways, right? So, that,
Yes. Yes. So those there are so many categories, right? Just like in the natural numbers, we I talked about just odd and even, but there is a prime numbers. There is a decade divisible by 10. So many different categories are there. So similarly, within the living entities, there are many different categories, and we see that it has been divided into at a lowest level, it has been divided into 84 lakhs or 8.4 million species, and then within those also there are so many categories.
yeah,
Yeah.
true. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I know you have hard stop. Sorry. The only
Oh,
thing that I want to add is that, and all this variety, just to think about it, Krishna creates because of his love for us, because we have so many different desires. Krishna creates all these. I mean, he's gotten into so much, complexity of creating this. So it's just
and and
amazing.
and the same love takes us back also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
because of love he creates, and with the same love we go back.
once we realize
Yeah.
that, yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Have a good rest of your day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.